No alien could lift the ancient sword on an alien planet until the human tried. The orange sun cast long shadows across the crystalline surface of Proxima Centauri b, painting the alien landscape in hues of amber and gold. Ian Stone, dressed in his signature black stealth suit that left his muscled arms bare, stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking a vast valley of iridescent crystal formations. His rugged features and confident bearing marked him as unmistakably human among the various alien species that now populated this recently colonized world. "You're going the wrong way again," came a melodious voice tinged with amusement. "I swear you humans have the worst sense of direction in the galaxy." Ian turned to face his guide, Wera, a striking blue-skinned humanoid whose dark blue hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of midnight. Her form-fitting black outfit left little to the imagination, but Ian had learned early in their partnership that her beauty was matched only by her deadly efficiency. "I thought you enjoyed watching me get lost," he replied with a rakish grin. "Gives you more chances to show off your superior knowledge of the terrain." Wera rolled her eyes, a gesture she'd picked up from him. "The artifact's signature is coming from the eastern ridge. You're heading west, you brilliant specimen of humanity." "Maybe I just wanted to admire the view," Ian said, his eyes lingering on her for a moment longer than necessary. They'd been working together for 3 standard months now, tracking down pre-civilization artifacts for the Galactic Heritage Foundation. The chemistry between them was undeniable, but they'd kept things professional. Mostly. As they made their way across the crystalline landscape, Wera's scanner began emitting a series of rapid beeps. "We're getting close," she said, her voice taking on that excited edge it always did when they were near a discovery. "The energy signature is unlike anything I've seen before." They rounded a massive crystal formation and stopped dead in their tracks. There, jutting from a block of pure black stone that seemed to absorb the light around it, was a sword. Its blade gleamed with an inner light that pulsed like a heartbeat, and strange symbols ran along its length. "Holy shit," Ian breathed. "That's not your average artifact." Wera consulted her scanner, her brow furrowed. "According to the database, this has been here since before the first colonization wave. Every species that's discovered it has tried to remove it, even using advanced quantum manipulation technology. Nothing's worked." Ian approached the sword, studying the way it seemed to respond to his presence, the pulse of light growing stronger. "Has anyone tried just pulling it out?" Wera's laughter echoed off the crystal formations. "Please tell me you're not serious. The greatest minds in the galaxy have studied this for centuries, and you think you can just walk up and—" Ian wrapped his hand around the hilt. The sword erupted in brilliant blue light, arcs of energy dancing along its length like miniature lightning bolts. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and the air itself seemed to hum with power. "Ian," Wera whispered, all traces of amusement gone from her voice. "What did you do?" He looked back at her, his eyes reflecting the sword's glow. "I haven't done anything yet." Then he pulled. The sword slid from the stone as smoothly as if it had been waiting for him all along. The sword's blue glow pulsed in rhythm with Ian's heartbeat as he held it aloft, its perfect balance defying its ancient origins. Wera's scanner whirred frantically, struggling to process the readings from the artifact. "This is impossible," she muttered, her blue skin taking on a deeper shade with excitement. "The energy signature. It's responding to your biological patterns. It's almost as if—" A searing flash of light interrupted her, and Ian gasped as images flooded his mind. He saw vast starships bearing markings similar to those on the sword, watched as humans in advanced armor wielded weapons that could reshape reality itself. He witnessed the rise and fall of an empire that spanned galaxies, all of it somehow connected to humanity's forgotten past. "Ian?" Wera's concerned voice pulled him back to reality. He found himself leaning against her, her skin cool against his. "Your eyes, they were glowing like the sword." "I saw," he began, then stiffened as the distant whine of approaching vessels reached his ears. "We've got company." "Planetary security forces," Wera confirmed, checking her wrist display. "They must have detected the energy surge. We need to move." Ian tried to secure the sword to his back, but no matter what he did, it wouldn't stay in place. Wera watched him struggle with poorly concealed amusement. "Here," she said, stepping closer than strictly necessary, and helping him adjust his armor. Her fingers lingered on his chest. The crystal formations to the north have natural interference properties. They should help mask our signatures. They moved swiftly through the alien landscape, the swords glow dimming obligingly as they sought cover. Ian couldn't shake the visions he'd seen, nor could he ignore how right it felt having Weyra pressed against him as they hid from a passing patrol. "You're thinking too loud," she whispered, her breath tickling his ear. "Want to share what you saw? Would you believe me if I told you humans once ruled the stars?" He kept his voice low, watching her expression carefully. "After watching you do the impossible with that sword?" She traced a finger along his jawline. "I'm starting to think your species is full of surprises." The sound of boots on crystal interrupted their moment. A squad of security forces passed barely meters from their position, their armor bearing the insignia of the Galactic Heritage Foundation's Enforcement Division. "This is beyond a simple artifact retrieval now," Weyra murmured. "That sword is changing everything we thought we knew about human history." Another vision hit Ian, less intense than the first but no less profound. He saw a network of ancient facilities hidden throughout the galaxy, waiting to be awakened. And somehow he knew the sword was the key. "We need to get off-world," he said. "There's something bigger happening here, and I don't think the Foundation should be the ones to control it." Weyra's eyes sparkled with mischief. "My ship's hidden in a ravine about 2 kilometers east. Think you can keep up?" "Always," he grinned, then grabbed her hand as they made a break for it. They ran through the crystal maze, their footsteps masked by the natural resonance of the formations. The sword continued to pulse, almost as if it was guiding them. Every time they encountered a patrol, they seemed to know exactly which way to turn to avoid detection. During a brief rest in a hidden alcove, Weyra studied Ian with an intensity that made his skin tingle. "You know," she said, moving closer, "in my culture, helping someone steal an ancient artifact is considered a very intimate act of trust." "Is that so?" Ian matched her movement until there was barely a breath between them. "And what about helping someone uncover the lost history of their species?" "That," she purred, her fingers trailing up his arm, "is practically a marriage proposal." The moment was charged with possibility, but the approaching whine of a search vessel forced them apart. Ian couldn't help but notice how Weyra's hands stayed intertwined with his as they continued their escape. They reached the ravine just as the sun began to set, casting long shadows that worked to their advantage. Weyra's ship was a sleek vessel designed for stealth and speed, perfect for their situation. As they prepared for takeoff, Ian studied the sword again. The symbols along its length seemed to shift and change, telling a story he was only beginning to understand. "Where to?" Weyra asked from the pilot's seat, her fingers dancing across the controls. Another vision flashed through Ian's mind, showing him a distant world shrouded in perpetual storms. "I know a place," he said, "but you're not going to like it." The Crimson Sector lived up to its reputation. Massive red gas clouds swirled through space like blood and water, making navigation treacherous for anyone who didn't know the secret routes. Fortunately, Weyra wasn't just anyone. "The pirates control everything between here and the storm world," she explained, her fingers dancing across the ship's controls. "But I know their patrol patterns, usually." Ian stood behind her pilot's chair, one hand resting on her shoulder as he watched the swirling chaos outside. The sword propped against the navigation console pulsed with a steady blue glow that seemed to intensify whenever they adjusted their course. "Usually?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "Well," she smiled up at him, her dark blue hair cascading over his hand, "I've never tried sneaking through with a human carrying a mythical glowing sword before. Could make things interesting." "Story of my life," Ian chuckled, then tensed as another vision hit him. The sword's energy surged, showing him glimpses of massive space battles fought in these very clouds. Ancient human warships, their designs unlike anything in modern records, clashing with vessels that seemed built from pure darkness. "Ian?" Weyra's concerned voice brought him back. She had turned in her chair, one hand cupping his face. "Another vision?" "Yeah," he breathed, leaning into her touch. "There was a war here long ago. Humans fought something that shouldn't have existed in our reality. That explains the anomalies in this sector." Weyra mused. "The scientific community always wondered why." A proximity alarm cut her off. 3 ships had appeared on their sensors, emerging from the red clouds like sharks from bloody waters. "Speaking of things that shouldn't exist," Weyra muttered, already taking evasive action. Pirates, and not the usual kind. The pursuing vessels were cobbled together from various alien technologies, their hulls covered in spikes and trophy pieces from previous victims. They moved with an unnatural grace through the gas clouds, quickly closing the distance. "Those are Ravager ships," Wera explained, her voice tight. "They're not interested in cargo or ransoms. They collect trophies, usually body parts." "Charming." Ian grabbed the sword, which now pulsed rapidly. "Any chance we can outrun them? In these clouds?" "Maybe, if we—" The ship rocked as energy fire streaked past them. "Okay, new plan. See that maintenance shaft behind the cargo hold? There's a pressure suit in there. You're going to need it." Ian grinned if we're already moving. "I love it when you get creative. Just try not to die," she called after him. "I'm starting to enjoy having you around." The maintenance shaft was cramped, but Ian managed to get the pressure suit on while keeping hold of the sword. As he did, more visions flashed through his mind. Ancient warriors using similar weapons to cut through the void of space itself. "Ready?" Wera's voice came through his comm. "Born ready." "Such a human response," she laughed. "All right, hero. Opening airlock in 3-2. The airlock hissed open, and Ian was pulled into space. The red clouds swirled around him as Wera expertly maneuvered their ship, using his exit point as cover to dive between two of the pursuing vessels. The sword blazed to life in his hands, its energy somehow extending through his suit without compromising it. Acting on instinct, or perhaps guided by the ancient memories the weapon contained, Ian swung. A blade of pure energy extended from the sword, slicing through the nearest pirate ship's engine housing. The vessel spun out of control, crashing into its companion. Both ships disappeared into the crimson clouds, leaving only one pursuer. "By the stars," Wera breathed through the comm. "That was the hottest thing I've ever seen." "Flirt later," Ian grunted, using his suit's thrusters to avoid debris. Still one more problem to solve. The final Ravager ship had stopped firing, instead broadcasting on all frequencies. A gravelly voice filled their comms. "The human with the energy blade. Our collectors would pay handsomely for such a unique specimen." "Sorry," Ian called back, readying himself for another swing. "I'm already spoken for." He could hear Wera's delighted laugh through the comm as she brought their ship around for another pass. The sword's energy built up again, but this time the pirate vessel was ready. It released a cloud of metallic particles that would have shorted out any normal energy weapon. But this was no normal weapon. The sword's blue glow turned to brilliant white, and Ian felt knowledge that wasn't his own guide his movements. He thrust the blade forward, and instead of an energy arc, a pulse of gravimetric force erupted from its tip. The particle cloud and the ship behind it were crushed into a ball the size of a fist, which quickly disappeared into the red clouds. "Show off," Wera said as she maneuvered to pick him up. "You know what this means, don't you? That I'm incredibly impressive and you're madly in love with me?" Ian joked while making his way back to the airlock. "That too," she replied softly, making his heart skip. "But I meant that every pirate, bounty hunter, and fortune seeker in the sector just saw what that sword can do. Things are about to get very interesting." Once back inside, Ian removed his helmet to find Wera waiting for him. Before he could speak, she pulled him into a passionate kiss that left them both breathless. "That," she said, trailing a finger down his chest, "was for the rescue earlier. And this," she kissed him again, slower this time, "is for everything else." The storm world loomed before them, a roiling mass of dark clouds lit by constant lightning. Ian stood at the viewport, the ancient sword thrumming in his grip as if responding to the planet's chaotic energy. "No one's ever successfully landed there," Wera said, joining him at the window. Her body pressed against his side, seeking warmth in the ship's cool air. "The storms tear apart anything that tries to enter the atmosphere." "That's because they're supposed to," Ian replied, new understanding flowing through him from the sword. "It's not a natural phenomenon, it's a defense system. The ancient humans built it to protect something." Wera's fingers traced patterns on his bare arm, sending shivers down his spine. "And I suppose you have a plan to get us through?" "Actually," he turned to face her, their faces inches apart. "I do, but you're going to think I'm crazy." "Darling," she purred, "I already think you're crazy. It's part of your charm." Her hand came to rest on his chest, just above his heart. but I trust you." The simple statement carried more weight than any passionate embrace could have. Ian leaned down and kissed her softly, pouring all his gratitude and affection into the gesture. "The sword isn't just a weapon," he explained when they parted. "It's a key. Those storms, they're made of the same energy that powers this blade. If I can sink them..." "You want to part a perpetual storm system using an ancient sword?" Wera's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's either brilliant or suicidal. Possibly both." "Story of my life," Ian grinned and then grew serious. "But I'll need your help. Your people have always had a natural affinity for energy manipulation. I need you to help me channel the power." Wera's expression softened. "You've been studying my species' history." "Well," he shrugged, trying to appear casual. "When a gorgeous blue-skinned woman agrees to be your partner, you do your homework." She rewarded him with another kiss, this one deeper and full of promise. "Let's save the galaxy first. Then we can discuss your extra credit." They prepared the ship for atmospheric entry, Wera's expert touch guiding them to the edge of the storm system. The sword's glow intensified as they approached, casting the cockpit in ethereal blue light. Ian stood in the center of the bridge, the sword held before him. Wera positioned herself behind him, her hands on his shoulders, her energy field harmonizing with his as she'd been trained since childhood. "Ready?" she whispered against his ear. "Born ready," he replied, and thrust the sword forward. The blade's energy exploded outward, meeting the storm's fury head-on. Through his connection with the weapon, Ian could feel the ancient programming, recognizing his human DNA, accepting his authority. But the power was overwhelming, threatening to tear him apart. Then Wera's energy joined with his, her natural abilities helping to channel and direct the sword's power. Together they created a tunnel through the storms, a path to the surface below. "By all the stars," Wera breathed as they descended. "Look!" The storms parted to reveal a city of impossible architecture, its spires reaching up through the clouds like fingers grasping at the sky. Though clearly ancient, it showed no signs of decay, protected by the very storms that had kept it hidden for millennia. "The last bastion," Ian said, knowledge flowing through him. "This was where they made their final stand against the void entities." Who made their final stand? Humanity's first empire. When the void entities invaded our reality, humanity fought them back. This facility, he gestured at the city below. This was where they developed the weapons that finally won the war, including this sword. They landed on a platform that cleared itself of debris at their approach, ancient systems recognizing their presence. As they prepared to disembark, Wera caught Ian's arm. "Whatever we find down there," she said, her eyes intense, "whatever secrets your ancestors left behind, I want you to know something." She pulled him close, her body fitting perfectly against his. "I've traveled with many species, worked with countless partners, but none of them ever made me feel the way you do. Not just the attraction, though by the stars that's certainly there, but this connection, this trust, it's..." Ian silenced her with a kiss that made her toes curl. "I know," he said softly. "I feel it too." The ancient city's corridors responded to Ian's presence, illuminating their path with soft blue light that matched the sword's glow. Wera walked beside him, her hand intertwined with his free one, her natural energy harmonizing with the facility's power in ways that made the air around them hum. "The architecture," she marveled, running her fingers along the seamless walls. "It's unlike anything in known space. These weren't just advanced humans, Ian. They were gods among the stars," he finished, knowledge flowing through him. "Look at this." They had entered a vast circular chamber. At its center stood a holographic display that activated at their approach, filling the room with images of the galaxy as it had existed millennia ago. Human ships of impossible design patrolled the stars, protecting younger races as they developed. "We were the guardians," Ian breathed, the sword pulsing with confirmation. "Humanity wasn't just another species struggling to survive. We were the first." The hologram shifted, showing humans helping other races achieve spaceflight, sharing knowledge, building alliances. Then it changed again, displaying dark tiers in reality itself, the void entities invading our dimension. The sword wasn't just a weapon, Wera realized, pressing closer to Ian as the images grew more intense. It was a symbol of humanity's role as protectors. Before Ian could respond, the floor beneath them began to move. The entire chamber was descending, taking them deeper into the facility. When it finally stopped, they found themselves in a hangar that stretched beyond sight. "Holy shit," Ian whispered. Row upon row of sleek warships filled the space, their designs matching those from the hologram. Each vessel hummed with dormant power, waiting to be awakened. "The last fleet," he said, knowledge flooding his mind. When the void entities were finally defeated, humanity knew they might return. They left these ships waiting for the day they'd be needed again. Wera's eyes were wide with wonder, and the sword is the key to awakening them. "Not just the sword." Ian turned to her, his expression intense. "The sword responds to human DNA, yes, but this," he gestured at the fleet, "this needs more." The ancient humans knew that power alone wasn't enough. They needed something more. "What?" "Love," he said simply. "The fleet won't activate for a lone human driven by pride or ambition. It needs to sense that humanity has learned to truly connect with other species, to form bonds beyond mere alliances." Wera's breath caught as understanding dawned. "That's why the sword led us here together. Not just because I could help channel its power, but because what we have is proof that humanity hasn't forgotten its true purpose." Ian pulled her close, the sword's light enveloping them both. "We're not meant to conquer or dominate. We're meant to protect, to unite, to love." The kiss they shared then was different from their others, deeper, more meaningful. As their lips met, the sword's energy expanded outward, touching each ship in the hangar. One by one, they began to power up, their engines humming with life. A new hologram appeared, showing a human woman in ancient military dress. DNA recognition confirmed, emotional resonance verified, bond with non-human species authenticated. Her smile was warm. "Welcome home, children of Earth. The last fleet awakens at your command." "Just one question," Wera said, her eyes sparkling with mischief despite the gravity of the moment. "Do I get to be your first officer?" Ian laughed, pulling her closer. "Darling, you've been in command since the day we met." The hologram expanded, revealing more of humanity's true history. They had evolved not on Earth, but among the stars themselves. Earth was a colony, established after the war with the void entities, when humanity chose to start over, to grow again from simplicity to greatness. "Your current civilization believes it is just beginning its journey to the stars," the hologram explained. "In truth, you are reclaiming your birthright. The sword you carry, young warrior, is one of many keys left throughout the galaxy, waiting for humanity to prove itself worthy once again." The Stormworld's defensive systems detected them first, massive fleets dropping out of hyperspace, their weapons charged. The galactic powers, the Confederation, and a dozen independent forces, all drawn by the energy surge of the last fleet's awakening. Ian stood on the bridge of the flagship, now designated Dawn's Promise, watching through the massive viewport as hundreds of ships took up aggressive positions above the storm layer. The sword hummed at his side, responding to his tension. "They're hailing us," Wera announced from her command station, a position she'd taken to with natural grace. Her blue skin seemed to shimmer under the bridge's ambient lighting, a sight that still made Ian's heart race, despite the gravity of their situation. "Of course they are," he smiled grimly. "Everyone wants a piece of humanity's legacy." He straightened his shoulders. "Let's give them a show." Before he could open communications, the sword's energy flared. New visions flooded his mind, tears appearing in the fabric of reality, darkness seeping through. The void entities were returning, using the gathered fleet's energy signatures as beacons. "Ian!" Wera was at his side instantly, her hand on his chest, steadying him. "What did you see? Something worse than trigger-happy bureaucrats?" He pulled her close, drawing strength from her presence. "The real enemy is coming back. We need to convince these idiots to work together, or there won't be a galaxy left to fight over." Wera's eyes sparkled with determination. "Then let's be convincing." Ian opened a channel to all ships, and his image was projected across every vessel in orbit. The sword's power amplified his presence, making him appear as a figure of authority and hope rather than a threat. "To all ships in orbit," he began, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's ancient legacy, "I am Ian Stone, awakened guardian of the last fleet. What you're seeing isn't a weapon to be seized or a prize to be won. It's a warning and a call to arms." He gestured, and the sword's energy created a massive hologram visible to all ships, showing the approaching tiers in reality. The void entities, the greatest threat this galaxy has ever faced, are returning. Humanity's ancient role wasn't to rule or conquer, but to protect, to unite. That's why the sword chose this moment to awaken its power. Because we need to stand together. A Galran commander's image appeared, his spines rattling with skepticism. Pretty words, human, but why should we trust you with such power? Ian smiled, pulling Wera into view. Because I'm not alone. The last fleet awakened not just to human DNA, but to the proof that humanity has learned to truly love and connect with other species. We're stronger together than apart. Wera stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. I've seen his heart, felt his power. This isn't about dominance, it's about protection, about love. As if in response to her words, the sword's energy expanded, touching each ship in orbit. The crews gasped as they felt the truth of humanity's purpose, the deep commitment to guardianship that had been encoded into the very metal of the blade. Then the first tear appeared, a wound in space itself, darkness seeping through like blood from a cut. The gathered ships recoiled, weapons turning toward this new threat. Choose now, Ian commanded, the last fleet moving into defensive positions. Stand with us against the darkness, or watch everything you love be consumed by it. The void entity that emerged was massive, a writhing mass of tentacles and impossible geometries that hurt the eye to look upon. But Ian stood firm, the sword blazing with defiant light. Wera's hand found his, their energies merging as they had in the storm. Together? She asked, her voice full of love and trust. Always, he replied, raising the sword as the gathered fleets made their choice. One by one, the ships turned to face the terror in reality. Ancient human technology and modern determination united against a common foe. The last fleet's engines hummed with power, ready to prove that humanity's role as guardians hadn't been forgotten. As the void entity's massive form twisted through the tear in reality, the sword pulsed with urgent knowledge. Ian felt it pulling him back toward the Stormworld's surface, even as the combined fleets engaged the cosmic horror above. There's something else here, he told Wera. Their fingers intertwined as they raced through the ancient facility's corridors. The sword! It's trying to show me something. Then let's find it, she replied, her blue skin glowing with accumulated energy from their shared connection. The fleets can hold the line, but not forever. The sword led them deeper into the facility than they'd gone before, past the hangar of the last fleet, through chambers filled with technology that defied modern understanding. Finally, they reached a sealed door covered in symbols that matched those on the blade. The heart chamber, Ian read, knowledge flowing through him. This is where they developed the final weapon against the void entities. The door recognized the sword's energy and slid open, revealing a vast spherical room. At its center floated a crystal matrix of impossible complexity, pulsing with the same blue light as the sword. The heart of light, Wera breathed, her scientific training allowing her to grasp the magnitude of what they were seeing. It's a quantum resonance amplifier. The ancient humans found a way to turn love itself into a weapon. Ian approached the matrix, the sword humming in harmony with its energy. Not just love, he corrected. Connection, unity, everything the void entities can't comprehend or corrupt. A hologram appeared, the same woman from before, but now her expression was grave. The heart of light requires two things to activate: the pure genetic signature of humanity's guardian bloodline and a bond of genuine love with another species. A sacrifice of separation was originally required, but your ancestors found a better way? What way? Wera asked, stepping closer to Ian protectively. The woman smiled. Instead of sacrifice, synthesis. The heart doesn't need to consume love. It can amplify it, but only if that love is real, tested, and true. Ian turned to Wera, his eyes intense. Everything since we found the sword, it wasn't just about proving humanity worthy. It was about proving we could love beyond ourselves. Wera's hand came up to cup his face. Well then, my beautiful human, let's show these cosmic horrors what real love can do. Their kiss was electric, literal energy crackling between them as their bond resonated with the heart of light. The sword's power flowed through them both, amplified by the crystal matrix until the entire chamber blazed with blue radiance. Above, the combined fleets watched in awe as beams of pure light erupted from the storm world's surface, piercing the void entity like spears of divine judgment. The creature recoiled, its impossible form beginning to unravel. In the heart chamber, Ian and Wera remained embraced, their energies perfectly synchronized. The sword floated between them, conducting their shared power into the crystal matrix. "The heart is at full power," the hologram announced. "Quantum resonance cascade initiating. Love in its purest form is the one force the void cannot corrupt or consume." The light grew blinding, but Ian and Wera held each other tighter, their bonds strengthening rather than breaking under the strain. Their combined energy shot skyward in a pillar of radiance that transformed the storm world's perpetual tempest into a shield of pure light. The void entity shrieked in frequencies that shattered lesser sensors, but it couldn't maintain its hold on our reality. The tear began to close, pushed back by the power of something greater than mere physics. "Now that," Wera said when the light finally faded, still held safely in Ian's arms, "was one hell of a kiss." Ian laughed, pulling her closer. "Think we convinced them?" They looked up through the facility's now transparent ceiling. The combined fleets remained in orbit, weapons lowered, as the last traces of the void entity dissipated into nothingness. "I'd say so," Wera smiled, tracing the line of his jaw, "though we might need to demonstrate a few more times just to be sure." The Great Hall of the Stormworld facility had become an impromptu meeting chamber for the galaxy's most powerful leaders. Representatives from every major faction sat around a massive crystalline table, their attention fixed on Ian as he stood at his head, the sword glowing softly at his side. Wera stood beside him, her presence both supporting and commanding. "The Heart of Light was just the beginning," Ian explained, using the sword's power to project a galactic map above the table. Dozens of points illuminated across its expanse, each pulsing with the same blue energy as the sword. "Our ancestors left a network of these devices throughout the galaxy, all connected, all waiting to be awakened. And you expect us to trust humans with such power?" A Galran admiral growled, though his spines betrayed more respect than aggression. "After witnessing what one heart can do?" Wera stepped forward, her voice carrying the authority of both science and passion. "What you witnessed wasn't a display of power. It was a demonstration of protection. The hearts don't run on dominance or control. They can only be activated by genuine bonds between species. Which is why we're here," Ian added, his hand finding Wera's. "We're not asking for control, we're offering partnership." The sword pulsed and new holographic images appeared. Detailed plans for integrating modern ships with the ancient human technology, ways to enhance current defenses against void incursions, and protocols for joint fleet operations. "The last fleet isn't meant to stand alone," Ian continued. "It's meant to stand with you. Each Heart of Light requires both human presence and alien cooperation to function. Our ancestors designed it that way deliberately." A Confederation admiral leaned forward, her crystalline features catching the light. "You're proposing a complete restructuring of galactic defense." "I'm proposing we remember what we once were," Ian corrected. "Humans weren't meant to be just another species struggling for power. We were guardians, protectors, but not rulers. The sword showed me that our greatest strength isn't in our ability to fight, but in our capacity to love, to connect, to unite." Wera's fingers intertwined with his, their energies merging visibly. "Look at what we've already accomplished together. One Heart of Light, powered by one human-alien bond, drove back a void entity that would have consumed entire fleets." The sword's energy expanded, touching each representative with the truth of their words. The ancient weapon had chosen this moment not just to awaken humanity's power, but to remind the galaxy of what was possible when species worked together. "We're proposing joint expeditions," Ian explained, highlighting the map's illuminated points. "Mixed crews of humans and other species working together to reactivate the hearts. Each activation will strengthen the galaxy's defenses and create new opportunities for cooperation." "And what of the last fleet?" someone asked. Ian smiled. "Every ship in that fleet was designed to be crewed by multiple species working in harmony. The technology responds to human DNA, yes, but it requires alien cooperation to reach its full potential. Just like this sword needed both my human heritage and Wera's energy manipulation abilities to achieve its true purpose." The representatives began discussing among themselves, but Ian could already sense the shift in the room's energy. The sword's power had shown them all a glimpse of what was possible. Not just survival against the void, but a new age of unity and progress. Wera pressed against his side, her voice low and teasing. You know, for someone who started this adventure by showing off with an ancient sword, you've become quite the diplomat. Well, he turned to her, eyes twinkling. I had an excellent teacher in the art of interspecies relations. Their playful moment was interrupted by the Galran admiral standing. The galactic powers vote in favor of this alliance. Our ships and crews are at your disposal for the hard activation missions. One by one, the other factions joined in. Within hours, the framework for a new galactic defense coalition was taking shape. Mixed crews were being assigned, ships were being retrofitted with hybrid technology, and expedition plans were being drawn up. As the meeting concluded, the sword pulsed with new information. Ian saw flashes of other artifacts like it, other keys waiting to be found by worthy humans who had formed the right bonds with other species. Ready for another adventure? He asked Wera, pulling her close. She responded by kissing him thoroughly, drawing appreciative murmurs and a few shocked gasps from the departing representatives. Always, she breathed against his lips. Someone has to keep you from getting too full of yourself with all this guardian of the galaxy business. The second heart of light awakened differently than the first. As Ian and Wera's combined energies flowed through the crystal matrix, the ancient device didn't just activate, it transformed them. Power surged through their joined hands, wrapping them in cocoons of brilliant blue light that pulsed in perfect synchronization with their heartbeats. Well, this is new, Ian commented, watching as patterns of energy traced themselves across his skin like luminous tattoos. Similar markings appeared on Wera's blue skin, creating intricate designs that seemed to tell the story of their journey together. The heart isn't just activating, Wera realized, her scientific mind racing, even as she pressed closer to Ian. It's evolving, adapting to our specific bond. The sword floated between them, its glow matching their new markings. Through it, knowledge flowed. Each heart of light was designed to grant unique abilities to its activation pair, powers that reflected and enhanced their natural connection. Show me what you see, Wera whispered, her hand coming up to cup Ian's face. The moment their skin touched, their minds merged. Not in the invasive way of artificial telepathy, but in the natural flow of two hearts that had grown to beat as one. They saw through each other's eyes, felt through each other's hearts. Ian experienced Wera's deep fascination with humanity's potential, her growing amazement as she'd watched him defy every limitation her people had placed on his species. Wera felt Ian's initial attraction to her evolve into something profound and eternal, his wonder at finding someone who challenged and completed him in equal measure. The hearts don't just protect against the void, Ian understood, pulling Wera closer. They're meant to show us what we can become together. Their joint consciousness expanded, touching the other activation pairs across the galaxy. Dozens of human-alien couples, each discovering their own unique gifts as they awakened their assigned hearts. Some gained the ability to manipulate energy in new ways. Others could communicate across vast distances, and still others could see possible futures and guide their fleets accordingly. Your ancestors weren't just leaving us weapons, Wera said with wonder. They were leaving us a path to evolution, to becoming something greater than we could be alone. The sword pulsed in agreement, showing them visions of the galaxy as it could be, not just protected from the void, but transformed by the power of genuine connection between species. Each heart of light would create new possibilities, new ways of understanding and working together. You know what this means, don't you? Ian grinned, his new energy patterns brightening in response to his mood. We have to test these new abilities thoroughly. For science, of course. Wera laughed, the sound carrying harmonic overtones that made the heart's crystals sing. Of course, she purred, trailing a finger down his chest and leaving a trail of sparking energy. We wouldn't want to disappoint your ancestors. Their kiss sent ripples of power through the facility, but neither of them cared. They had transcended the simple physical attraction that had initially drawn them together, becoming something new while remaining entirely themselves. Through their bond, they felt the other hearts awakening across the galaxy, each activation strengthening the network of protection and unity. The last fleet, now crewed by perfectly matched human-alien pairs, took up positions at strategic points throughout known space. Each ship's systems responded to the unique abilities of its bonded command team, becoming more than the sum of its ancient and modern parts. The sword, which had started their journey by proving humanity's worth, now served as a symbol of something greater. It wasn't just about humans being able to do what aliens couldn't. It was about humans and aliens achieving together what neither could do alone. "Ready to see what else we can do?" Wera asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief and love. Ian responded by activating their new shared power, surrounding them both in a sphere of pure energy that lifted them off the ground. "With you? I'm ready for anything." The heart of light pulsed around them, its power a testament to the truth that had been waiting since ancient times. The greatest force in the universe wasn't technology or weapons or even the pure human strength that had first lifted the sword. It was love, real, profound, transcendent love between different species who chose to see past their differences to the light within each other. As they floated there, wrapped in power in each other's arms, Ian and Wera knew they were just beginning. There were more hearts to awaken, more abilities to discover, more ways to show the galaxy what humanity and aliens could achieve together. But for now, in this moment, they were content to simply be what they had become, living proof that when a human male dared to reach for something no alien could grasp, he might just find something far more precious than mere power. The sword gleamed between them, its light a promise of adventures yet to come.
Like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Your support means the world to me and helps me keep creating amazing content for you.